Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Autism Stories. I'm your host, Doug Bletcher, the founder of Autism Personal Coach. Autistic people are the true experts of the autistic experience, and Autism Stories is where we interview autistic people to learn from their stories, experiences, and get their insights. If you would like to be notified about each week's episode of Autism Stories, we suggest you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. We would also appreciate it if you could give us a positive rating and review, as it will help others to learn about autism stories. On today's episode, Hacki joins us to talk with us about something they created to better express theirs and many others' autistic traits. We also discuss how being a part of a system impacts their life. We hope you enjoy today's conversation. Hacki, thanks so much for joining me here today on Autism Stories.
Hello. Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, guys. My name is Hacki, and I am from Germany, and I am also autistic.
And speaking about being autistic, where does your story in the autistic community begin?
It began like I had a specific point where everything began. And it was what I call now my second birthday, kinda. It was on October 18, 2022. And that was the point. Actually, I think I created my Instagram account, Neurodivergent Safe Space, a few weeks or days earlier than the October 18th. But on that day, I finally, after so long, after feeling so alienized in the university, I finally decided to confront myself and to confront the truth I have been avoiding and repressing for many years, that I am autistic and I was diagnosed very early actually with autism, but it was a part of me that I repressed a long time ago, because due to that diagnosis, a very long time I have been bullied by mostly family, which is sad, but also classmates, and it was not a very pleasant experience. And from that day on, like, I experience, it was also overwhelming to me, and I was underestimating how overwhelming confronting that truth is. And I think from that day on, my journey of discovering myself truly began.
From what I understand, you're part of a system and you have memory gaps. So I'm wondering if your system has found some ways to help with these memory gaps.
Yeah, not really, to be honest. When I was younger, I used to, I still do now, but from, I think, when I was 10 or something, I started writing diary, because then that way I wouldn't forget the memories. But there's still an issue, because when other memories in my head are active and others are deactivated, then I wouldn't read the diary volume where I wrote those memories I can't remember, because I don't think that it took place, and that's why I don't think that I have diary entries of it, and I won't read it. And it's still kind of an issue, and I'm trying to find a way how to fix it somehow. But I think writing diary journaling is for me a very good thing, a very good way to cope with all of this. And yeah.
Now, I learned about you through Instagram, and you started an account on there to support yourself in self discovery and self acceptance as a queer autistic person after, I think, what you described as many painful years of passing. How has creating this Instagram account impacted your system overall?
I don't know, actually. I think, well, for myself as a person, I think it is definitely positive because I got a way to connect with the autism community, and also in the internet, and also not only on Instagram but also on YouTube. I found out about systems, and I found it really interesting because I never had a word to describe what I was experiencing. And as a kid, I already experienced other part of my system fronting or confronting, but I didn't have a word for it. And I was also mocked by other people, even by some family members, because I was sometimes talking to myself, and that's why I also repressed it for a very long time. And when I first read about systems in the internet, I could partly, not entirely, but I could partly relate to this because I was like realizing what I was experiencing is real and it's not only something only in my imagination. And it was also something other people could experience too. And yeah, and about the Instagram account, currently it's only me using it, and because I am usually the one who's fronting, and the others usually co-front, and very rarely they front alone, but it's usually just that.
What really drew me to your Instagram was something you created on there that you called Autism is a Spectrum. What's your set of autistic traits? Now, you created several different categories to express these traits, including social, communication, sensory perception, accommodation, special interest, support level, intersectionality, and opinions. Can you tell us a little bit more about this scale and why you decided to create it?
I decided to create this scale is because I think it's important to know that autistic people are very diverse, and that what one autistic person experiences as this doesn't mean another autistic person also experiences the same thing. And that's why it was important for me to create a scale that probably covers large parts of the autism community, because there's not only one picture of an autistic person. And also I think it is pretty fun to rate yourself into those scales. It's like a game, and it's also interesting to see these scales of the other autistic people, because a lot of people shared their scale in their stories or as a feed. And while I was all reading it, I really found it interesting, and interesting to see how different we can be.
You know, I definitely agree with you that it is really fun to kind of rate ourselves. I remember as a child, here in the United States, there was a book from Dr. Seuss, All About Me, where throughout the book you answer all these questions about yourself, and those things were a lot of fun. Now, as part of the scale, I thought it was really smart to include the category of opinions on this scale, because I think within the autistic community, the opinions we have can often lead to judgments and cause each other pain. What's been your experience with some of the opinion questions that you decided to include on the scale?
I thought it was really important to include opinions, because when I was in the Instagram autism community, the actually autistic community, but also I think also on Twitter for a time, I was realizing a lot of autistic people, or also people who are not on the spectrum but have a child or a sibling on the spectrum, they have very different opinions, and sometimes they fight each other for, like, for example, the puzzle piece, like something really trivial, but also different things. And I was also realizing in the autistic community, it's hard for some people, especially for level 2 and level 3 autistics. It's hard for them to really find a place for themselves because our the Instagram autism community is far away still, sadly far away from being inclusive for everyone, because I am a level 1 autist. I can largely live an independent life. I still need help, but I don't have the same struggles as level 2 and level 3 autistics. And still, I am struggling with getting seen because I don't really, that's an issue I already talked yesterday in my story, but I don't feel comfortable going onto screen and making reels of myself like other autistic people do, like mostly level 1 white and autistics who are conventionally beautiful. And I think it is pointless if we have different opinions, like, is autism a disability or a different ability? It's pointless if we clash and fight each other and put each other down because they don't have the same opinion, or they want to say I am a person with autism instead of I am an autistic person. And because I think as a community, we're supposed to hold together and to talk with each other, although they have a different opinion than we do. And also, I think the dialogue between autistics and parents of autistic people is also very important. And I think there is not really enough dialogue between those groups because many, like not many, but some actually autistics don't want to talk with parents of autistic children and vice versa.
Now, just overall, I thought this scale could be really impactful to other autistic people. So I'm just wondering if you're going to create a form that I didn't see it on Instagram, maybe I missed it, a form that people can fill out on their own.
That would actually be a very great idea. I could make a form of it. I haven't yet because I am just doing things on my Instagram, just autism awareness, like for fun. But I already thought about doing it more professionally, like also publishing books, and because that way I may reach more people, and my Instagram page is more like for my own and doing just sharing things of my life. But actually, a form would be a great idea, and also you could download the form several times because because of my memory gaps, I often change those for me. Those points I put into my scales aren't static because they can change really rapidly based on which memory gaps I have currently. Overall, I guess it's a very good idea, actually.
And lastly, how can our listeners learn about you beyond this interview?
I could talk a little bit about myself, but it is like when somebody tells me talk about yourself, I am like a little bit struggling because I don't know where to start and what's really important. But I think I might start with the thing that I am a early diagnosed autist and a level 1 autist, which isn't really, and also I'm POC, people of color, I'm Asian, And that is not really the picture of autism we usually see in the internet. And also, my experiences as growing up in an Asian household is also a little bit different, because Asian education, Asian upbringing is already traumatizing because our parents usually have very, very high standards, and it's even more traumatizing as an autistic person. And I would wish that if we talk with autistic people, we can also, we should also talk with autistic BIPOCs, because like Chinese upbringing, Indian upbringing, or African upbringing, the parents are very strict. And for my upbringing as an Asian, it is also like the parents struggle if their child is different, because difference is not cherished as a good thing in most, like it is in most Western cultures, but it is like seen as something bad because communism and stuff like that. And also in countries like China, Japan, it's, I believe it's really hard for autistic people to really be themselves. That more visibility is crucial and is important for us to accept ourselves. And as a early diagnosed person, I am also level one, but a lot of level one autists I see online are late diagnosed. And that's also a thing. I really struggle to connect with them. I also have some experiences that overlap with the experiences of late diagnosed autists, but like the experiences I had as a person who was diagnosed with four, although very different, because my parents dehumanized me, and my parents, mostly my mother, saw only the diagnosis in me, instead of me just being a child or a person, which is like, I think it also, race also plays into it. And there is less among POCs or among Asians, there's less visibility for autistic people or autism awareness than it is in white societies. Probably it's also a point, but it is like often as an early diagnosed person who was traumatized because I was early diagnosed and because people only saw the diagnosis in me, it is important to like share myself and like talking about my own lived experience.
And Hacki, I'm really grateful that you shared your lived experience with us today. Thanks so much for joining us here on Autism Stories.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
We always love hearing from you and would especially love to hear from you relating to this episode on what are some sensory experiences you enjoy that other autistics may not care for. And also, thanks so much to Hacki for the conversation. To learn more about Hacki, check out the link in the podcast description for this episode. Here at Autism Personal Coach, our clients are the experts, our coaches are the guides. The majority of supports for autistics are not helpful. They try to fix us, not support us. That's why many are confused when we say our clients are the experts, experts of their lived experience. Our clients are the experts for what has worked for them and about the things that they need and want in their lives. Our coaches first listen to our clients and then ask thoughtful questions, offer resources, and strategize with our clients so they can get what they need to thrive. Would you want a guide in your life to coach you to get you the things you desire? If so, then visit autismpersonalcoach.com for more information. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Autism Stories, and if you did, if you could tell a friend, foe, or anyone you know about it so they could have the same enjoyable and educational experience as you when listening to Autism Stories, it'd be very much appreciated. Until next time, I'm Doug Bletcher of Autism Personal Coach. Talk to you then.